Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to a new episode of our Letter to Vox podcast.
Welcome. Today we're doing a deep dive into, well, a true giant of American literature, F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby.
A novel that really, it just is the 1920s for so many people, but it's also this timeless critique of the American dream itself.
It really is. And the thing that strikes you when you look at the material is its reputation for being like this chaotic, roaring 20s party scene.
Right, total excess.
Exactly. But the actual structure is so incredibly meticulous. It's almost mathematical. Fitzgerald wasn't going for realism here. He was trying to create something extraordinary and beautiful, something simple but also deeply refined.
He built it like a classical drama.
A tragedy.
And he does it with such compression. The main story, all the action, it takes place in just 4 months. 4 months in the summer of 1922.
That's it. Just one summer. It's just one summer. But within that, he weaves in a whole backstory that goes all the way back to 1906. So you get this powerful sense of fate, like the past and the present are just on this collision course.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to unpack that collision for you. We're going to explore that huge fatal gap between the dream, the illusion of wealth, and the brutal reality that's hiding just beneath the surface of that one summer.
We're going to dig into the characters, the symbols, and that unavoidable tragedy that happens when one man tries to, quite literally, repeat the past.
So to begin, let's ground ourselves a little in the author's life, because it really does mirror so many of the themes in his work.
Absolutely. F. Scott Fitzgerald was born on September 24th, 1896 in St. Paul, Minnesota. He went to Princeton, but his real passion was always writing. He actually dropped out because of it.
And that passion paid off fast. His first novel was a huge success, and right after, he married Zelda Sayre.
And together, they just became the icons of the jazz age. They were the glamorous, dazzling couple. They lived this life of, incredible excess and glamour, which he then wrote about with such unflinching detail.
But that life had a dark side, a very dark side.
It did. His later years were, they were really darkened by alcoholism and, tragically, by Zelda's severe psychological breakdown. She was institutionalized.
He died pretty young, too. In Hollywood, December 21st, 1940. But The Great Gatsby, which came out in 1925, that's the one. That's his masterpiece.
Yeah.
Written right at the peak of all that personal turbulence.
It really is. So let's turn to the book itself and to the eyes through which we see this entire world. Our narrator, Nick Carraway.
Nick is so crucial. He's supposed to be our moral compass, or maybe an unreliable one. He sets that up right from the start.
He does. He comes from this established family in the Midwest. He calls them a clan, sort of jokingly, and claims they're descended from some dukes, which was actually a little inside joke from Fitzgerald himself.
And he carries this piece of advice from his father, which he sees as this profound guiding principle.
Right. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had.
So he tries to be non-judgmental.
He tries, but the whole novel is, at the end of the day, his judgment, his moral verdict on this entire crowd.
It also puts him in a specific class, right? Even if it's not the flashy East Coast kind. He's a Yale man. He fought in the Great War.
Exactly. And he says after the war, he felt really restless. The Midwest, his home, didn't feel like the warm center of the world anymore. He called it the torn down edge of the universe.
So that feeling pushes him east. In 1922, he's going to New York to get into the securities business, Wall Street.
And that journey from the sort of traditional structured West to the volatile, morally ambiguous East is, it's the symbolic core of the whole story.
The geography of his new life is instantly symbolic. He ends up on Long Island, which is split into these two peninsulas, East Egg and West Egg.
And he rents this tiny, weather-beaten cardboard bungalow. It's only $80 a month. But the key thing is where it's located.
It's right next door to Gatsby's place, this colossal mansion.
And they're in West Egg, which is the land of the nouveau riche, the new money, people who made their fortunes recently and are, desperately trying to buy their way into the upper class.
Gatsby's mansion is the perfect symbol of that. Nick calls it a copy of some Hotel de Ville in Normandy. It's an imitation.
It's new money trying to imitate the grandeur and history of old, established money.
And that's where you find East Egg, right across the water. The chic shore with its white palaces.
That's where the Buchanans live. Old money. Inherited wealth that doesn't have to try so hard. It just is.
And Fitzgerald uses that split, that little body of water between them, the bait, as this huge structural element.
It's more than just water. The analysis calls it a symbol for the abyss that separates Gatsby from Daisy. It's not about miles. It's a chasm of class, of history, of what's considered acceptable.
And Nick, living right in the middle, he's perfectly placed to see it all, to see the collision coming.
He is. And we have to talk about the thing that Gatsby is staring at every single night. Across that water, on Daisy's dock in East Egg,
The green light.
the green light. It might be the most famous symbol in all of American literature. The first time Nick sees Gatsby, he's just standing there in the dark, stretching his arms out toward it.
It represents everything, doesn't it? Daisy, the past, social status, the whole unattainable American dream.
It's everything that's just out of reach. And the tragedy, is that once he finally gets Daisy, once he stands with her on his own lawn and looks at it,
The magic is gone.
exactly, it's just a green light on a dock. The reality could never, ever live up to the dream he built around it.
So let's cross that water. Let's go into East Egg and meet the man who embodies the raw, destructive power of that old money world, Tom Buchanan.
Nick's description of him is just chilling from the get-go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's this Polish guy, he's 30, from an enormously wealthy family, and he was a huge football star at Yale, a national celebrity.
Which is so important. He peaked early. He's living in the shadow of his own past glory.
And his physicality is just menacing. Nick calls it a cruel body. He has this immense physical strength and these two blank, arrogant eyes. He's a man whose power is all about physical force and what he's inherited, not about character.
And that arrogance isn't just physical. It's ideological. At that very first dinner party Nick goes to, Tom just launches into this really disturbing rant about white supremacy.
Where he starts talking about this book, The Rising Tide of Color Against White World Supremacy.
And Fitzgerald puts that in there for a reason. Tom genuinely believes that all of civilization, science, art, you name it, was created by the Nordic people.
And it's their job to make sure no other races take over.
It's his way of justifying his own position. If the world is based on a fixed racial hierarchy, then his inherited wealth and status are also justified. It's an intellectual defense for his own entitlement.
And you see the physical side of that cruelty right away. Daisy mentions her knuckle is black and blue.
She blames it on Tom, calling him a muscle-bound lout, sort of as a joke, but it's not a joke. The violence is real. It's the perfect match. Ideological cruelty and physical cruelty.
Which brings us to Daisy Buchanan, the Golden Girl, the object of Gatsby's entire existence.
And the first thing we learn about her is her voice. Nick finds it completely captivating. It's like a sing-song that promises exciting things are just about to happen.
But later, we get the real key from Gatsby's own insight.
Yes, her voice is full of money.
Chilling.
It is. That enchanting sound, that promise of excitement. It isn't her personality. It's the sound of immense inherited financial security. That's the unfailing magic that Gatsby is so desperately trying to buy.
But beneath that surface, she is just profoundly cynical. She tells Nick she's paralyzed with happiness, which is such a hollow, awful thing to say.
And then she reveals her hope for her own daughter. It's just heartbreaking.
She hopes she'll be a beautiful, foolish little thing, because that's the best thing a girl can be in this world.
That is just raw despair. She knows her own intelligence has been crushed by her class and the world she lives in. The analysis describes her as profoundly depressive and unhoused. She lives in a palace, but has no real home.
And we find out pretty quickly her marriage is a lie. That phone call during dinner.
From Tom's mistress, it's all there in the first chapter. The illusion is already cracking.
And the third person in that East Egg group is Jordan Baker, the modern woman.
Slender, self-sufficient, a professional golf champion. She represents this new kind of freedom for privileged women in the 20s.
And she's the one who just casually tells Nick about Tom's affair. She's surprised he doesn't already know. I thought everyone knew.
Her acceptance of it sets the tone for East Egg society. It's not about fidelity, it's about discretion. That's the highest virtue.
But her coolness hides something else. Nick later remembers this scandal about her moving her ball in a golf tournament.
Right. A scandal that was quickly buried. Nick realizes she's an incurable liar. She avoids clever men because they might see through her.
Her whole philosophy on life is summed up by how she drives.
Oh, it's perfect. She's a terrible driver, and when Nick calls her on it, she just shrugs and says, other people will get out of her way.
It takes two to have an accident.
Exactly. The consequences are always someone else's problem, which is just a terrifying foreshadowing of what's to come. It defines that whole careless, destructive East Egg elite.
It's just incredible how Fitzgerald sets up the toxicity of that world. Tom's brutality, Daisy's despair, Jordan's dishonesty, before Gatsby even really enters the picture.
They're a fixed system. insulated by their money and their shared past, and that is the world that Gatsby thinks he can just buy his way into.
So now we have to leave those beautiful white palaces and take the right towards New York City. And to do that, you have to pass through one of the most powerful landscapes in literature.
The Valley of Ashes.
It's halfway between West Egg and the city, and it is just pure symbolism. A ghost farm, this industrial wasteland where ash from factories covers everything.
It's inhabited by these ash gray people who are just consumed by the industry around them.
And you can't miss the literary connection here. This is a direct reference to T.S. Eliot's poem, The Wasteland, which had just come out a few years earlier.
It is. This place is a symbol for total moral and economic decay. It represents all the little people who are just ground up by industrialization, people who are nothing to the rich folks speeding by in their cars.
And watching over all of it are the eyes.
The eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. They're on an old, faded billboard for an optician, these huge blue eyes and giant yellow glasses just staring out over the wasteland.
They're a symbol of, what? God, a God that's forgotten.
I think so. A kind of forgotten divine watchfulness, a silent judgment over all the moral rot that's happening down below.
And it's in this place, the land of the forgotten, that Tom Buchanan carries on his affair. He makes Nick get off the train with him to meet his mistress, Myrtle Wilson.
Myrtle runs a garage there with her husband, George, and she's the complete opposite of Daisy. She's in her mid-30s, a bit plump, but she has this raw, aggressive vitality.
Nick says she moves her excess flesh sensually. She's desperate for passion, for a way out.
And her husband, George, is the opposite. He's described as unanimated, bloodless. Tom treats him with just total contempt, dangling this fake promise of selling him a car.
The power dynamic is so clear. Tom is possessive and arrogant with Myrtle. He even makes her ride in a separate train car to New York.
Just to keep up appearances for any East Eggers who might see them. It's all about protecting his own status.
And that leads us to the apartment in New York that Tom keeps for the affair. This is where everything just breaks down.
It's here that even Nick, our observer, loses his footing. He says it's only the second time he's ever been drunk in his life. That's how fast the moral decay of the East can get to you.
Myrtle completely changes her personality in the apartment. She puts on new clothes, acts like she's high society. The room fills up with her sister, Catherine, and this couple, the McKees.
Oh, the McKees. The pale photographer who's in the art business and his awful wife.
The conversation turns to the affair, and Catherine tells Nick this lie they've cooked up.
That Daisy is Catholic, and that's why she won't give Tom a divorce. It's a total fabrication, which just shows you how they have to constantly build these lies to justify their actions.
The whole scene is just chaotic,
Mm-hmm.
drunken, people disappearing and reappearing. It's the jazz age with no rules.
And you know, as we get to the climax of this party, it's probably a good moment to just take a quick breath. We know you value these thorough analyses, and we appreciate you joining us to explore Fitzgerald's world.
Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoy this podcast. Your support really does help us keep digging into these classics.
Okay, so back in the apartment, the party is reaching its ugly peak. Myrtle gets more and more bold, and in her drunken state, she starts taunting Tom by shouting Daisy's name.
Davy, Daisy,
Duh.
over and over again. It's direct challenge to his control.
And Tom's reaction is just swift and brutal. His hypocrisy and violence just explode. With one motion of his open hand, he breaks her nose.
All the pretense of this sophisticated affair is just shattered. It's just chaos and blood.
And it confirms everything Nick first thought about Tom's cruel body. When his authority is questioned, he resorts to pure physical violence. It perfectly establishes the dangerous, careless nature of that whole world.
So if Tom's world is all about brutal reality, Chapter 3 finally throws us into Gatsby's world, which is built on, well, nothing but illusion.
The parties he throws are just legendary, and the details are meant to overwhelm you. 5 crates of oranges and lemons used every single week.
An entire orchestra, not just some small band. And the guests. Total mix of actors, speculators, film people.
And crucially, tons of people who weren't even invited. They just show up. They don't even know who Gatsby is.
That's a key part of the critique, isn't it? These aren't friends. It's a transaction. People are using his wealth as a playground, but they have no respect for him.
None at all. And that's why the rumors are everywhere. He's a killer. He's a German spy. He's not a real person to them. He's just a fantasy.
And the most brilliant symbol of this whole fake world is in the library.
The owl-eyed man. Nick and Jordan find this drunk guy in the library, and he is just amazed.
He can't believe it. He's discovered that the books are all real. They have pages and everything.
But then he points out the key detail.
They're uncut. The pages haven't been opened.
It's all a set. an elaborate stage prop.
Yeah.
Gatsby has bought the appearance of being a well-read, cultured man, but he hasn't done the work. It's all for show. It's a facade built for one person.
And eventually we do get the real story. His name wasn't Jay Gatsby.
It was James Gatz from North Dakota. His parents were poor, unsuccessful farmers. He changed his name when he was 17. That's when he dedicated himself to this fantasy version of himself.
The turning point was Dan Cody, the copper millionaire.
Right. Gatsby saved Cody's yacht from sinking on Lake Superior and became his assistant for 5 years. That was his education in the world of wealth and excess. He started dreaming of unspeakable splendor,
He was supposed to inherit a lot of money from Cody, but he got cheated out of it.
which forced him to find a much faster and much shadier way to get the fortune he needed to win Daisy.
So that brings us to where the money actually came from. He says he went to Oxford, but it was just for a few months after the war.
His war record, though, that's real. He was a hero. He even carries this medal from Montenegro with him as proof.
But the parties, the mansion, that required criminal money, Tom immediately guesses he's a big bootlegger.
And Daisy tries to cover for him, saying he owns drugstores, which was a classic front for selling illegal alcohol during Prohibition.
But the real truth is revealed through his connection to Meyer Wolfsheim.
The man who fixed the 1919 World Series. I mean, you can't get more corrupt than that. Rigging America's pastime.
It's so profound. Gatsby's entire beautiful dream is built on the most corrupt money imaginable. Wolfsheim says he made Gatsby, suggesting a deep criminal partnership.
So all of this, the parties, the fake library, the illegal money, it was all for one single purpose.
To get Daisy's attention, to arrange a reunion.
And when that reunion finally happens at Nick's little house, Gatsby is a complete wreck. He's pale, trembling, wearing a white suit, a silver shirt, a gold tie. He even had Nick's lawn mowed.
The first moments are just painfully awkward. He almost knocks over Nick's clock.
A perfect, heavy-handed symbol for the time he's trying to rewind.
And soon after, we find out what he really wants, his one colossal demand.
He wants Daisy to go to Tom and say, "I never loved you." He needs to erase the last 5 years completely so he can pick up right where they left off.
And Nick has to deliver the warning, the tragic truth. You can't repeat the past.
Gatsby's response is just so fierce. "Why not? Of course you can."
And that's when Nick realizes the dream had become bigger than Daisy.
Much bigger. The colossal vitality of his illusion was way more powerful than the real woman. He was in love with an idea, a memory from 5 years ago that he had perfected in his mind, and no real person could ever live up to that.
And that's where the real tragedy begins, when that illusion has to finally face reality.
And all of that comes to a head in Chapter 7. The setting is perfect. The Plaza Hotel in New York on the hottest day of the summer.
The heat is just oppressive, and Tom, feeling like he's losing control, he just goes on the attack. He confronts Gatsby about Oxford, about his business.
He forces the ugly truth out into the open, and Gatsby, in turn, forces Daisy's hand. He tells Tom, "She doesn't love you. She loves me."
This is the moment he's worked his entire life for.
And Daisy, she just can't do it. She fails him. When Tom pushes her, she admits that she did love him once, even if it was just for a minute. She can't say she never loved him.
That's her fundamental weakness, isn't it? She doesn't have the courage to step outside of her conventional safe world with Tom.
Exactly. And the second she hesitates, Tom knows he's won. He's back in command. He even mocks Gatsby by sending him home with Daisy, basically saying, "The game is over. You're no threat to me."
And that drive back from the city is just the road to ruin, the heat, the broken dream, Daisy's emotional state. It all leads them right back through the Valley of Ashes.
Where George Wilson, her husband, has finally reached his breaking point. He suspects Myrtle is having an affair and has locked her up.
She sees Gatsby's yellow car coming down the road, same car Tom had been driving earlier, and she runs out.
And is hit and killed instantly.
But at the terrible truth, which Gatsby reveals to Nick later,
is that Daisy was driving. She thought it would calm her nerves. And Gatsby, in his final act of devotion, immediately decides to take the blame for her. He stands guard outside her house all night, protecting a dream that's already dead.
Tom's reaction is just peak hypocrisy. He cries over Myrtle, but then he immediately calls the driver a goddamn coward for not stopping. And he lies to the police about the car to protect himself.
And then Nick sees them, Tom and Daisy, in their kitchen right after the accident.
Sitting across from each other with cold chicken and beer. Not happy, but intimate. The intimacy of conspirators planning their next move.
That's when Nick gives them the label that sticks. They're careless people. They smash up things and people and then just retreat back into their vast carelessness or their money and let other people clean up the mess.
While they retreat, George Wilson is falling apart. He finds a new dog collar and knows Myrtle had a lover.
And in his grief, he looks out at the eyes on the billboard, the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, and tells his neighbor, God sees everything.
The forgotten ad becomes the eyes of God, demanding vengeance.
And Wilson, believing Gatsby was Myrtle's lover and her killer, tracks him down to his mansion. He finds him in the pool and shoots him.
Gatsby dies for Daisy's crime, alone, a victim of his own unwavering and totally misplaced devotion.
And the final tragedy is the abandonment. Nick tries to find people for the funeral. Hundreds came to the parties.
And nobody comes to the funeral. Daisy is gone. No note, no flowers. Wolfsham refuses to get involved.
Even Klipspringer, the guy who basically lived at the mansion all summer, he only calls because he left his tennis shoes behind.
It's just devastating. The only people who show up are Nick, Gatsby's estranged father, and...
He's the owl-eyed man from the library, the one who understood the facade. And he delivers the perfect, heartbreaking epitaph.
Of course, son of a bitch.
It's just profound. And Nick remembers the one compliment he ever gave Gatsby. They're a rotten crowd. You're worth the whole damn bunch put together.
Despite everything, all the crime and lies, Nick recognizes that Gatsby's capacity for hope, for wonder, was something pure.
Exactly.
So when we boil it all down, what are the central takeaways here? What is Fitzgerald really telling us about the American dream?
Well, I think fundamentally it's a tragedy about a man who needed to repeat the past. And it's about Daisy's weakness. She just didn't have the character or the courage to live up to the scale of his dream.
And the conflict really started with that first relationship, didn't it? As a poor officer, Gatsby took what he thought he could get from a rich girl.
And he had to spend the rest of his life justifying that act, trying to become worthy of it by building this colossal fortune.
Fitzgerald himself said that the redemption in the story isn't about pleasure, it's about the deeper satisfaction that comes from fighting.
Right. Gatsby's greatness isn't in his wealth. It's in his incredible capacity for hope, his dedication to the dream, even though it was built on a lie and doomed to fail.
And Tom and Daisy, they're the opposite. They represent the destructive, irresponsible power of old money. They break lives and just walk away, totally insulated by their wealth.
And Nick's final thought is that they were all from the West, and that made them unfit for the moral chaos of the East. The West, for him, represented some kind of decency that just couldn't survive there.
So here's the last provocative thought we want to leave you with. Let's say Gatsby had won. What if Daisy had left Tom and they had erased the past and gotten married? Would he have been happy?
Or would the final, even greater tragedy have been the slow realization that the real Daisy could never, ever live up to the colossal illusion he had built in his mind? Would achieving the dream have been the thing that finally destroyed it?
The dream itself required it to be impossible.
It did. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Fitzgerald's masterpiece.
We hope to see you next time on The Deep Dive.